Again, thank you so much for coming today. So we are going to be discussing how to use BigMarker's webinar platform. So this is everything you'll need to know to host a BigMarker webinar and more. So hopefully you're going to know more about Andy and myself, our likes, our dislikes, things like that. Andy loves horses. I don't. So we will move on. So this webinar is being brought to you by Andy and Joe. We are community heroes here at BigMarker.com. I am Joe. And then Andy is manning our chat today. So we help communities succeed. So if you have any problems, questions, need advice, or just want to talk to us about how our lives are going, please feel free to email us at any time. We are easy to be reached at Andy@BigMarker.com or Joe@BigMarker.com. We are also the ones in charge of running our support, and also if you email in, if you message the little message guy on the bottom left-hand corner on most parts of the site, that happens to be Andy talking to you, so please feel free to say hi to both of us. So we do have breaks throughout this section, so if you have questions, feel free to ask them at those points, and Andy and I can both answer them then. So BigMarker, just to let you know a little bit about BigMarker in case you are unfamiliar with what we do, is we are a place where groups come together and learn, share, and meet virtually. You do so through video conferences and webinars. So we are actually a group-based platform where webinars and video conferences are created as part of the group. The idea is your group of teachers, bowling league champions, or friends and family or colleagues use these group tools, including video conferencing and webinar, to meet online. So these are some of our current clients down here and some of their images. This is what our homepage looks like. So one of the things that we do, this is for webinars specifically, is we have a virtual, directory of different upcoming webinars. So all of the upcoming public webinars published to our homepage and our find page so that anybody is able to search through them. So we're really trying to create a virtual environment for these webinars to thrive. So here's the current webinar we were on there. So if people are just perusing the site, they can actually join your webinar and listen to what you have to say. So for example, this webinar and tomorrow has 46 people who have RSVP to attend, and it looks like it is in Spanish, so if you'd like to attend a Spanish webinar right there, you're more than welcome to. So webinars on BigMarker are a community-based feature. Organizers and some members can create webinars. So one of the cool things about BigMarker is that each one of your members of your community is actually set up to be a host. They can actually create and be presenters inside of your webinars. So that means you don't need to have all these extra host licenses, etc. So for the $20 a month, you get unlimited host licenses, whereas something like GoToWebinar charges you an astronomical amount for each one of those host licenses. You can also turn off who can and cannot create webinars in your community settings. Only selected presenters have admin rights inside the room, so that is currently myself and Andy. That is why you are actually unable to share your webcam and microphone right now. Up to 100 people can attend these webinars, and with 12 people sharing their video cameras, their webcams. So we do have video conferences and webinars on BigMarker. These are the differences between the two. There's very little differences. The biggest thing is with a video conference, we have a Meet Now feature, so it literally launches a room like that. And in a video conference, everybody is an administrator of the room, so everybody has the same rights, even the person who created it. In a webinar, the biggest difference is that the administrator has more controls. So I am able to turn off and on people's webcams. I'm also able to lock the room into the specific presentation layout or page layout. So we say that video conferences are meant for private, smaller groups. Webinars are meant usually for larger, more public groups. With webinars, you also have ticketing and chip-in. You do not have in the video conference. So to create a webinar, it's really easy. You just go to your community. So you have to have a community on BigMarker first. You either need to be part of one or you need to create one. That's very easy to do. You can click this big create button right here to start doing that. Once you're on your community page, you see your community bulletin. So on your community bulletin, you have calendar, conferences, about, marker, members, settings, invite other statistics over here. Well, on your bulletin, you have this big green button. It says New Conference right there. You click New Conference, and that will launch a conference right now. So that launches the conference administrator page. So this is this page. So you click New Conference, and this allows you to select the conference type. So we have New Webinar and New Meeting. You can use the word meeting, and that's a video conference. A webinar is right here. So you would click Create a Webinar. You click Now New Webinar. And that brings you to our webinar creation wizard, which is really easy to use. Let me zoom in quick for you. You select the type of webinar you would like. We have public or private. So public means that it would be shared on the public page. Private means that it would not be shared on the front page. Webinar name, URL, so you can customize your URL. You can select the date and time this webinar is happening. Your webinars can be up to 4 hours in time, so you can actually select a webinar to start, at 1 p.m. and it ends at 5 p.m. That would be a pretty long webinar, but you're able to do it. Then we have the language this webinar will be hosted in. The conference server. So we have servers located in North America, which is where Andy and I are actually located. We're in downtown Chicago. In fact, the North American server, one of them, we have several here, is located a couple blocks from us, which is pretty nice. And every once in a while we get to visit it. We also have a server in Europe, Southeast Asia, East Asia, and South America. So we have most of the world covered in servers. We're going to be adding a conference server in Australia sometime very soon. Then we have the logo. So this is where you upload your logo or image for the webinar. Click Next to continue. And this allows you to select who the presenter of the webinar is and the description of the webinar. Then the final page is the free, paid, or chip-in. So you're able to select if this conference is free for anybody to attend, or if it's paid, which means they have to purchase a ticket to attend. You can select the price for the ticket. The minimum amount is $2, and BigMarker takes a 10% transaction fee on that to cover all of the transaction costs, etc. And then on the next page, we have the chip in, which allows your members to actually chip in for a webinar. So the idea is the attendees will donate to join the webinar. So a lot of nonprofits and church groups are finding a lot of use out of this, that people will donate $10, $15, $20 to attend their church service or Bible study or speaker that comes and talks. You can also, if you are an attendee, you can choose not to actually donate as well. So that's nice. So once you've created the webinar, you click Create, and that drops you off on the webinar landing page. So each webinar is given its own landing page. That means it has a space all on its own with that URL that exists semi-independently from the community. So people can see this webinar page if they have the URL or an invitation link. So you don't have to be part of the community to actually see this webinar, join it, RSVP for it, find out more about it. So that makes it so it's a little easier for you to invite people. So when you are the presenter, you will see instead of RSVP, this is an RSVP button if you're not signed in. You see Edit Webinar. You also have Invite and Share buttons, the time, more about it, more about you, and a section where you can actually post a comment to a bulletin, add a file, or add a poll, so you're actually able to keep in contact with the people who have RSVP'd for the webinar. So if somebody RSVPs for the webinar, you can actually comment here before or after the webinar, or even during it, and they'll receive an email letting them know that there's a post, and then come back and comment too. So it's a way, if you can't email the person or you can't find their contact information, as long as they've RSVP'd, they get the information here. And then you can add your description. You're always able to edit your webinar even after the webinar happens. So if for some reason you want to change the URL after the webinar happens, you're more than welcome to. So then we have what attendees see. So they see an RSVP button instead of an edit button. So this is a person logged out. They see all the information. They click to RSVP and to join the conference. So on the day of your webinar, so your webinar is about ready to happen. We have an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours before the webinar. These are the things that we suggest that you do to make your webinar successful. First is to save your presentation as a PDF. So a lot of people, you can use all sorts of different presentations on the BigMarker platform, but PDFs tend to translate better onto more computers. So we just suggest PDFs. They're fast to upload. You can save all of your major documents as a PDF. It just makes it a lot easier for you as the host in hosting this. Make sure to test out your system. You would be surprised how many people are actually try to host a webinar for the first time. And that's the first time they've ever been on BigMarker. They decide that I'm going to host a 100-person webinar and never test out the system at all. And those webinars tend to go poorly just because the organizer or host is just not familiar with the controls, or maybe they happen to have a firewall on that they didn't realize they had on. So please test out your system before the webinar so that we, as the support team, can help you get everything ready. Enter the webinar 30 minutes before the start time. So your webinar actually opens up 30 minutes before the start time, and attendees can enter 15 minutes before the start time. If you have questions, email support@bigmarker.com, and we can help you out. Next, we have the enter the webinar button. So as soon as the webinar starts, you'll see an enter button, and you click to enter. It's that easy. And you are off in the webinar room. Does anybody have any questions about creating a webinar that I just covered? Okay, no questions. So we'll move on to the webinar room. So when you first enter the webinar, we actually check your system. So this is just something to know. So we check your browser to make sure that it's an updated model. Again, try to please update your browsers as much as possible. If you're on Internet Explorer or Safari, you actually manually have to update it. So please do so as often as you can. Your webcam and your microphone, and your internet connection. So you do need to have a connection of 1 megabyte per second consistent upload. So that's just something to know. So for example, Kate is having a little problems with the audio. She says that she's in a rural area and speed is a problem. So Kate, the one thing that I would ask is your internet run through a cable or is it through satellite? Through satellite, you're probably going to have trouble running a webinar at any point in time. A DSL should be okay. So when you first enter the webinar, you as the presenter will see a pop-up. So this pop-up allows you to start beginning to share your webcam, your microphone, play around with the attendee controls, and click to enter the room. So this is a page that you see when you enter to make it so it's easier for you to share your audio and video right from the beginning so you can get going. And then for your attendee, they do not see this page. They just actually enter the webinar as is, and then their controls are automatically shut off. So it's much easier for your attendee. They just jump right in and start seeing your presentation. So at first, oh, sorry, these little arrows are in the wrong place. So let me zoom in. So we have page layout, which is right here, the far left. We have options tab to the right. And then we have your audio and video settings at the bottom. So these are the three major areas of the webinar to know how to use. So we're going to scroll in and look at your video and audio. So on this page, you have my video, My Audio with a mute button, mute all, raise hand, attendee controls, and your personal settings wheel. So this has the attendee controls on and on. So currently I have those controls off. So your little buttons right here should be a faded out red. And if I were to turn them on, you would see that you can actually turn on your audio and video. So there's something to know. So if you're hosting a webinar and you'd like to have your attendees speak, you can turn these on, and they have the ability to turn on their microphone and webcam. And as soon as you want them to be quiet, you can turn those off. So in the top left, we have the page layout, which we'll go through next. So the first layout is group. So that is the title of this layout. It's group. So this shows you all of the webcams in a specific order that are all the same size. So this has them all in one group chat feature. So this is kind of what you would compare to something like Google Hangouts. This allows you to see all of the different people at the same level. Then we have page layout, which this one's called Focus. So in this section, it has one person at the top of the screen. So if you're having one speaker speaking for quite a while, this is a really great thing right there. And then underneath, you would have all of the other webcams published. Then we have presentation. So in the presentation, it has all the webcams as it is now published, and then the presentation is published above that. You're able to also click this little arrow section right here to make your presentation full screen or not. And then the last feature of the page layout is the lock feature. So this is a little lock right here. So currently right now our layout is locked. So if I switch to the group picture, we all switch to group, and you see a big image of my face. Same with focus, same with presentation. When it's locked, if the presenter chooses which section to go to. Then now we have on the far right have all of the options tabs. So the first one's the chat tab. So people so far have been chatting. So we can chat right here. I can chat to Drew and to Kate and say hello. All you do is type in here and hit send. You can also select color as well. So you can chat back in this nice lavender-like color, this nice light color, light purple. You can chat down there and chat it away. So that's the color setting. You can also select chat with, so you can actually chat with a specific person. So you can chat with them and say hello. And you can chat with individuals. So when you chat with individuals, that is not recorded in the recording. So all that chat is private. The next one, we have the People tab. So in the People tab, this shows you who is sharing their audio, who's sharing their video, who is the administrator of the webinar, and if you scroll over people's names, you can actually kick them out of the room, or you can give them control. So I can give Andy control, I can give any Andy members controls as well. Anybody can be presenting at that given point in time in a webinar, so you as the host can actually select one of your attendees to become the presenter. The next section is add a file. So this allows you to add files. It's very easy to add a file. You click add file, browse the file, and then you select the file on your desktop and it starts uploading automatically. And then that file will actually publish to the far left in the presentation format. You can also switch between the uploaded files or delete the uploaded files. So you can upload any type of file from a PDF to a Microsoft Word document to an Excel spreadsheet, PowerPoint, images as well. We suggest PDFs because, again, they upload much easier. So in the far left, we're going to scroll in here. So once you've uploaded a presentation, these are the tools that you get. We have our whiteboard tool. We have the ability to change slides. A zoom, which I can zoom in and out. Zoom. It zooms for everybody. And then we also have the change the width buttons as well to the far right. So that changes the width of the presentation. So under the whiteboard, you're able to mark on your presentations. You can draw squares, you can draw circles, etc. So these are the uploading of the presentations. These are the types you can upload again. So the last and final section is recording. So recording is very easy. You click on the record tab, the little record tab, and then it asks you about your recording, and then you can click record. So the recording is recording the audio, the video, the presentation, and the chat. The video is only projected on Firefox and Google Chrome because of the plugins that it needs. So the video will actually not show up for Safari or Internet Explorer. And then, yes, I am recording this presentation right now. It says recording right above the presentations being recorded. So once you click record in the record button, that is the only time that you can start the recording. We do not have a pause feature. So basically what happens is as soon as you hit stop, it starts processing the recording. So make sure that you want to start the recording exactly the same time you would like to stop the recording. Does anybody have any questions about the webinar room and or the recording? Is the wider area for the whiteboard feature / write feature on or notes for the presentation? I'm slightly confused by that question. Is it? I actually think the whiteboard, it goes to here is the end of my whiteboard, where the end of the presentation is showing up, but we could do a wider presentation. So if I had a really wide presentation, it would show up in here, but mine's a square one. So it does have an edge to the whiteboard is where I'm trying to draw on right now. But if I'm able to upload a longer PDF, it'll show up the whole way. Or if I zoom in. Yeah, so let me, here, what we can do. So this is the edge of the presentation. I mean, you're able to do as much as you can. I can't actually see where it ends. It's just, I'm tracing on it right now as much as possible. So there's that edge of the my presentation, because it's a square presentation. But if I do the change width, you can see that it's much different in size. All right, we will move on quick. Yeah, so in the far right corner of the presentation, we actually have the toggle full screen presentation. So again, I think I pointed that out a second ago. That's this little button. So if you want to have your presentation go larger for yourself, you can actually click that button. It makes the presentation larger. And I didn't mention this earlier, sorry, but the recording does publish to the conference page. So once you've recorded the conference, it does publish to the conference page. So where you enter the conference is where you can actually watch the recording. And then it is easy to watch from there. So these are the coming updates. We had somebody that asked quickly about screen sharing / non-PDF live. So that is desktop sharing. That is coming very soon. So that is going to be one of our newest features. So that will come hopefully soon. We don't actually have an exact timeline. I wish we did, but that's something that we can't say yet because we're still in the middle of testing it. We're going to be adding Australian servers soon, and we're going to be doing YouTube sharing. So the first one we'll be doing is actually posting your recordings to YouTube, and then eventually we'll do YouTube in the conference room. But the first one will be YouTube recordings to YouTube. So right now our recordings stay on our site and are just streamed through our service. In the near future, what they'll be is be able to be published on YouTube. So you can basically click a button and your recording will go straight to your YouTube profile for the whole YouTube world to see. So that'll be a nice feature for webinar hosts because it'll give you an option to reach tons and tons and tons more people surfing for YouTube content. And then does anybody have any questions about hosting webinars, creating video conferences, or even BigMarker in general if you have them? We can answer all questions right now. Yes, to make the presentation full screen, it does have to get rid of the person in the bottom left-hand corner. So the videos go away when you make your presentation full screen. That's the only way to get the presentation larger. Yeah, we're very much looking forward to screen sharing. The version we're working on right now is super sweet. So it's going to involve, we are doing a non-download right now for our webinar format, our video conferencing format, but our screen sharing may require the presenters to do a download so that basically it'll come through video quality format. But that's neither here nor there. So Drew, I wouldn't actually, so you can host a webinar for those groups. My suggestion is, since it's small, it's probably going to be roughly around the same amount of people. You can actually host the new meeting. So when you're creating you go to create new conference right here on your bulletin, you get to select between webinar and new meeting. Most of the rooms are very similar, but for you, for a smaller group like that, you can do new meeting, and then everybody has the ability to share their microphone or webinar. And that it creates a new meeting for them. So then everybody has the ability to mute each other if they need to, or if for some reason you can't show up until late, it works. It does not focus on the leader. So when you're in the focus mode, it actually just focuses on who the user clicks to go to the top. So you, as the person watching, get to choose who is at the top of it. I think it automatically selects the creator, though, at first. Would the desktop share be presenter only, or any approved participant can share too? The idea is it'll be where the presenter will have, in a webinar, they'll have the ability to share at that time. Only presenters will be able to share. So you click them to make them a presenter, and then they can share their desktop. So anybody will be able to share their desktop. It's just only the presenters. Yes, that is where, so we have the video of the presenter leaves a lot of space to the right. Is that where participant videos show up? That is correct. So if we have more than one person talking, that is where their videos show up. So typically we've seen a lot of webinars where it's actually 2 or 3 people hosting it. We just do it to the one video to try to make it so that the quality is a little more clear for the attendees, because we have a lot of people that attend that are not in the United States. So here's the $1 million question: why BigMarker versus Google Hangouts versus Skype versus WebEx, etc. So that's a good question. So they're all very different. So Skype, to let you know, is not video conferencing. It is actually video calling, so it's peer-to-peer, so you're actually calling the person much like a telephone. Skype's main competitors, AT&T, Verizon, etc. So we're not really in the same category as Skype. But for Google Hangouts versus WebEx versus GoToMeeting, the biggest difference between us and them is the fact that we have the community-based features. So you, for Google Hangouts, instead of just hanging out, you can actually use the group features to connect between and after or before meetings/webinars. So you get to know the people a little bit more. You can share files, etc. You can plan dates when you're actually going to meet. The biggest difference between us and Google Hangouts is we actually offer support. So if you have a question, there's a human being that answers it. When you want to know something, we can help you out. So that's the biggest difference between us and Google Hangouts. Again, the biggest difference between us and WebEx versus GoToMeeting is mostly on price as well. They tend to have much higher prices. Our groups, our communities are priced at $20 per month, no matter how large the community is. And that's just paid for by the organizer, so it's not $20 per person, it's just $20 for the group, the entity, the community itself. So we have the difference between, so the video part looks a lot like Google Hangouts. Is it similar technology? No, it's not similar technology. Ours is based off a completely different system than theirs is. But we're moving actually closer towards what they do, which is pretty good stuff. I mean, Google has an unlimited treasure chest to throw at whatever fancy they have, which is why they have little mustaches that float above people, which is fun, but it's not necessary for a meeting or a webinar. What's the level of effort for users to join? So they just need to be part of BigMarker. So if it's the first time attending, they just sign up and then they're inside the webinar. That's all they have to do, or they RSVP that way. So it's just literally a name, first name, last name, email, password. They can also sign in or sign up with Google account, Facebook account, or Twitter account. So it's pretty easy. We are working on plugins right now so that they can sign up through your website. We have had in the past, if you have your own database of emails and names, we can input that into our system and automatically generate an account for somebody. We just don't offer that as a feature. That's just something we have to do on our end. And if there's anything you need or have questions about, feel free to ask, and we can definitely see if we can make it work. So right now, you cannot attend a webinar on a mobile device. This is Flash-based is the room, so it's not going to work on an iPad or an iPhone. And in fact, it won't even work on certain old iMacs because of the fact that Flash has discontinued supporting those computers. Those are really old computers. Those are probably ones that are 5 or 6 years old. So we are working on an app for a mobile webinar. So the guy who's working on our screen sharing and some of our other stuff is making our audio and video right now app accessible. So as soon as that is done, then we are going to be getting it ready for an iPhone app. I don't have a projected time for when that's supposed to be done. It's as soon as possible is really the answer for that. And we're really excited for it. I would like to host some of these on an iPad sometime. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And then I can host it from Starbucks, which I always tell people not to do. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody, for attending our webinar today. Again, this was the overview of how to host a webinar. If you have any questions about BigMarker or hosting webinars, or if there's something we didn't cover that you would like us to have covered, please reach out to either Andy or myself. Please email us both or one of us with comments, questions, or if you have any support issues you need taken care of, please, we do want to help your community and your groups move forward. There are a few other things too quick before you leave. We do have a few other video conferences coming up and webinars coming up. So the one we are definitely suggesting that people go to is this one. We have 2 other community organizers on staff, and they're hosting this webinar. So it is the 5 ways to promote your community or webinar. So if you'd like to know more about just how you can make your community or webinar much better or have more people in it, these guys can definitely help you out. Andy and I will be there to watch. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then we are also running a I guess it would be a promotion is the way to say it, a sponsorship. So we want to help out public communities. We're very dedicated to getting public content and public communities on BigMarker. Like we had shown earlier, one of the first slides was our public conferences and webinars that are happening. So if you have a community that you're thinking about creating, or a series of webinars that you're thinking about creating, BigMarker might be able to sponsor you and allow you to create those webinars for free. And we'd even help promote it and help with support, etc., for you at no cost to you. So that's the idea with this. You just have to qualify for certain things you have to qualify under, but it's pretty easy to meet, and we definitely want to help out as many public groups start meeting on BigMarker as soon as possible. So if you have questions or would like to know more about that, please feel free to email us. We just started the sponsorship today, actually, so we already have a few groups interested in knowing more about it. And everybody have a wonderful day. That is all for us. I'm going to stop the recording now. So everybody that has attended should get an email. Thanks for coming.